Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us continue with the Surah An-Nisaa bihawlillahi wa quwwatih. And the next 4 ayat give us a description of the munafiqeen. Ayah number 60, قال الله تعالى: ألم ترى إلى الذين يزعمون أنهم آمنوا بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك يريدون أن يتحاكموا إلى الطاغوت وقد أمروا أن يكفروا به ويريد الشيطان أن يضلهم ضلالا بعيدا. So he begins with the well-known opening, Alam Tara, do you not see? And this is a question of ta'ajjub, of amazement. It's like saying, isn't it amazing and extraordinary what these people are doing? So do you not see those who yaz'umun, za'ama yaz'umu za'man, to claim. And very often this za'ama verb is used by people who claim something and they are lying. So he says these people claim that they amanu, they believe, or have iman, that's a key word, has preceded, in what was unzila, sent down to you, that refers to the Quran, and that which was sent down before you, O Muhammad ﷺ, and this refers to the previous scriptures like the Torah, Zabur, Injil, and other than that, which is wajib, of course, to believe in. This is part of the Aqidah. So they claim, and they are lying, of course, that they believe in all of this. However, at the same time that they make this claim, the Quran says, yuriduna, they want to, yatahakamu, seek judgment, meaning seek the hukum. So this is the judgment in their disputes, like civil disputes and so on. Ila at-taghut, they want to seek the judgment to go to the taghut. Taghut from tughyan, to overstep the limit and to transgress the limit. Here it refers to a judge who gives a ruling contrary to the Quran and the Sunnah. If the Quran says that riba is haram, this judge is going to say no, riba is halal, and so on. And they were ordered, umiru, to make kufr in the taghut. This is to say, to reject the taghut, because the Muslim is not a Muslim unless he first makes kufr in all false gods and tawaghit. This is what the shahada is all about. La ilaha, there is no deity. This is making kufr in all deities. Illallah. Then comes the affirmation, except for Allah. So you make kufr or rejection first, then you make the affirmation. Then he says the shaitan, that's a key term, has proceeded from shatana, which means to be remote, because he is remote from the mercy of Allah. Shaitan wants to yudillahum, misguide them from dalala, dalalan ba'ida, a far misguidance. Dalalan is mansub bil-fatha because it is a maf'ulun mutlaq. A maf'ul, a passive participle to emphasize the verb. Ba'idan is the sifa of dalalan. Hence it is also mansub bil-fatha. Ayah number 61. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ وَإِلَى الرَّسُولِ رَأَيْتَ الْمُنَافِقِينَ يَصُدُّونَ عَنْكَ صُدُودًا. وَإِذَا قِيلَ, and when it is said to them, تَعَالَوْا, meaning come, إِلَى مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, to what Allah has sent down, meaning the Quran, وَإِلَى الرَّسُولِ, and to the messenger, meaning come to the Quran and to the messenger to seek judgment. رَأَيْتَ, you saw. The verb is past tense because it is a jawab of the shart إِذَا. You see the munafiqeen. So 2 points here. Firstly, the word munafiqeen comes from the word nafiqah, which means a tunnel which the jerboa digs, and it has 2 entrances. When it is blocked from one entrance, it makes its way out from the other. So it's a clever little animal, and such is the munafiq. They always find for themselves a way out because they are two-faced people. Of course, this is translated in English to hypocrites. The second point to note is that the Quran uses the word munafiqun when you would normally expect it to use the pronoun. So it would read, so you would expect, when it is said to them, come to Allah and the Messenger, you see them turn away. But he specifically makes mention of the word munafiqeen to make the illah known, the justification. So the reason why they are turning away from you is because they are munafiqeen. So anyone who turns away from taking judgment from the Quran and the Sunnah is either a munafiq outright, or at least has a resemblance of nifaq in him. He says, يَصُدُّونَ عَنْكَ صُدُودًا. Sadda yasuddu here means a'rada, to turn away. They turn away anka, from you, sududan. This is a maf'ul mutlaq, so it is mansub al-fatha. Again, this mansub is to emphasize the verb. Ayah 62. فَكَيْفَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ جَاءُوكَ يَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ إِنْ أَرَدْنَا إِلَّا إِحْسَانًا وَتَوْفِيقًا. So it begins by saying فَكَيْفَ, so how, meaning to say, how would their state be when a musibah, a calamity befalls them, bima, because of, قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ, what their hands have sent forth, meaning of their evil deeds. This is to say, seeking judgment from the Taghut. ثُمَّ جَاءُوكَ, and then, after this musibah afflicts them, they come to you, O Muhammad ﷺ, يَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ, taking an oath by Allah. So حَلَفَ يَحْلِفُ, حِلْفًا means to swear an oath. And what are they swearing an oath to? إِنْ أَرَدْنَا, meaning we did not want, إِلَّا, except, we did not want except إِحْسَانًا وَتَوْفِيقًا. So إِحْسَانًا meaning to do good. So this means we only had good intentions. إحسانا is mansub al-fatha because it is a maf'ul bihi. And we also wanted tawfiqan. So tawfiq means to bring about reconciliation between two disputing parties, to make an agreement between them. And so this is why we went to other than you. We just wanted to make a reconciliation between the two disputing parties. So you see, we had good intentions. We did not want to go out of our way to oppose you, O Prophet. This is their claim. Now, of course, all of this is a barefaced lie, because in Ayah 63, أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُ اللَّهُ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ وَعِظْهُمْ وَقُلْ لَهُمْ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ قَوْلًا بَلِيغًا. Ulaika, those people, referring to the munafiqeen, are those whom Allah knows what is in their hearts. Qulub, plural of qalb, we have spoken about this before. Okay, what does Allah know about them in their hearts? He knows that their hearts are harboring nifaq. So outwardly they are claiming to be Muslim, but inwardly they are kuffar, and their hearts are devoid of any iman. And also Allah knows about their lies. فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ, so turn away from them. So what this means is turn away from them as in do not punish them. It is also said, do not accept their excuses. And both of these tafasir are acceptable. And then he says, وَعِظْهُمْ, from wa'adha ya'idu, wa'adhan, to admonish. So admonish them, teach them of the importance and the virtue of seeking judgment only in the Quran and the Prophet. وَقُلْ لَهُمْ, and say to them, فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. So this فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, in themselves, could mean either say to them something that would reach their hearts and what would really shake them. It can also mean speak to them privately and not publicly. And again, these two tafasir are different, but both can be acceptable because they're not contradictory. قَوْلًا بَلِيغًا. قولا is mansub al-fatha. It is a maf'ulun mutlaq, a maf'ul which emphasizes the verb. Balighan is a sifa of qawlan, therefore also mansub. As for the meaning of baligh, it means effective, something that's going to have an effect on the listener, not some speech that goes in through one ear and out through the other. So it is going to be a speech that will induce the fear of Allah in their hearts. It has also been said that this qawlan balighan is that you threaten to execute them if they do not repent. And some other suggestions are also given, and Allah knows best. Okay, so these are the 4 ayat talking about a characteristic of the munafiqeen, which is seeking a judgment from other than the Quran and the Sunnah. So what might we pick up when we reflect on these ayats? Firstly, in the tafsir we find that this ayah has some asbab, and from them there is a narration which says that a Yahudi and a man from the Ansar had a dispute, and the Yahudi says, let's go to Muhammad for this judgment, and the man from the Ansar, who was claiming to be a Muslim, says, no, let's go to Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, who was one of the leaders of the Jews. And there are other asbab also given, and Allah knows best, but what concerns us is the general message in the ayah. We find that it is okay to be astonished and amazed at people whose actions contradict their statements. Their statement says, we are mu'min, but their actions tell you that they are kuffar. And this is a most astonishing thing, and it is okay to be astonished at such a matter. We also find that from a person's iman is to believe and affirm all the scriptures which Allah sent down, some of which we know, and some scriptures we do not know the name of, but we believe in all of them wholesale. And that the Muslim is consistent in his beliefs in the scriptures, as opposed to the Yahud and Nasara, who will pick and choose what scriptures they believe, and even from the scriptures they believe in, they will pick and choose that which they will act upon and that which they will leave, because ultimately these people are people of desires. The main lesson to learn from these ayat is that seeking a judgment in other than the Quran and the Sunnah is actually seeking a judgment in the Taghut, and is a quality of the kuffar and a quality of the munafiqeen. But then one might say, what if they are living in a kafir country, where the courts are of course ruled by other than the Quran and the Sunnah? We say that firstly one should try to reconciliate between themselves. If not, then if it is possible to set up Shari'i arbitration courts, then this would be a good idea. But if all of this is not possible, then yes, you may go to a kafir court in order to protect your rights. However, your intention is not that you agree with the ruling of the court per se, but that you agree with the ruling of the court which agrees with the Sharia. Because a kafir court can give a judgment which either agrees with the Sharia or disagrees with the Sharia. So as for those rules which agree with the Sharia, or at least do not contradict the Sharia, then you may accept such rulings, because they are halal to be accepted, as they do not contradict the deen. So that is not a problem. As for the munafiqun and other kuffar, they deem the rulings of the kafir courts to be the correct ruling or the best ruling, and this is kufr. How can a Muslim ever think that a ruling which contradicts the Sharia is better than the Sharia? This is clear-cut kufr, because then you're saying that man is more wise and knowledgeable than Allah. We also take that Allah uses the word yaz'umuna, claim, and like we said, this is when you claim something and you are lying. So these people claim that they believe, and yet they make tahakum to the taghut, which means that seeking a ruling from other than the Quran and the Sunnah is kufr, because Allah Jalla wa Ala does not accept their claim that they believe in the Quran, because He uses the word yaz'umun. And notice that this kufr applies to the one who simply wants to make tahakum ila taghut before they actually physically do it. Simply wanting to make tahakum ila taghut is kufr, which kicks you out of the fold of Islam. We also take the lesson that the Muslim is ordered to make kufr in all tawaghit, and that is clear cut from the ayah. And also there is a clear-cut order in ayah 256 of Surah Al-Baqarah which has preceded. We also take that Ash-Shaytan does not have our interests in mind. He wants to lead us far astray. So it is upon us to keep our guard up against Ash-Shaytan by keeping away from sins and by dedicating ourselves to the worship of Allah Jalla wa Ala and His dhikr. We also take that Allah Jalla wa Ala will take us to account for our intentions. So those things which we are firmly resolved on doing. Because He tells us that He knows what is in our hearts. Now simple knowledge alone does not lead to any consequences. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here is that He knows what is in our hearts and will take us to account for it. So this refers to our intentions and what we are resolved to doing. Not just mere thoughts or whispers that can occur to anyone. We are not taken into account for mere thoughts and whispers. Rather, we are taken into account for our firm intentions, that is, our firm resolutions. We also notice the Quran uses what we term إظهار في موضع الإضمار, making plain something or explicitly stating something where you would expect them not to, because He says when they are called to the Quran and the Sunnah, you see the munafiqeen turn away from you aversely. So He's explicitly telling us that the munafiqeen turn away from taking judgment from the Quran and the Sunnah. So that anyone who does anything similar is either a munafiq or has traits of the munafiq. We also take that with the munafiqeen we are ordered to turn away from them, meaning, like we said, either do not punish them, and it can also mean do not accept their excuses. However, the ayah also tells us to admonish them, not to argue with them, because if you start an argumentation, then there is simply no ending to it. You can argue till the cows come home. But rather you simply give them the admonition. If they accept it, that's good for them. If they do not accept it, turn away from them. But there is no benefit in arguing with the antagonist. You also take that committing sin will have you afflicted with a calamity, as is clearly stated in ayah number 62. And we also take that the munafiqun, they have what's called the gift of the gab. They can come out with excuses on the spot. And so we need to be wise and see through the excuses of those who are lying. What matters is the reality of someone's speech, not how they adorn it. We also take that when you're giving an admonition, speak in a way that will reach their heart. And your speech will only reach their heart if your speech itself comes from your heart and you're not just giving it the lip service. Because what comes from the heart reaches the heart. As for what to say, then this requires thought and planning on your part. You need to plan out what to say. You need to plan a type of speech that will prove to be effective at reaching someone's heart. هذا والله أعلم.